And I'm going to do some sword fighting today with all y'all, so I hope you've been training. I'm just going to go through. No, I won't get Rob was kind enough to provide us with some swords, so anybody who actually wants to get up and learn some forms, by all means, I'll be doing that in the second half of it. Here we go, our lethal weapons. So I'm going to let you guys choose what you'd like to do, because we can go straight in and just do a whole sword lesson, but I think it might be more interesting for like Wheel of Time fans if we actually just like go through what some of the sword forms are and how we imagine them, because I'm going to underline all of this. This is just way the Herring's interpretation, like, you know, this is in your head and that's how it should be. But this is our interpretation of them. So if you guys want to like, you know, talk through any forms or anything, just shout them out and I'll give you my best impression. I'm not doing cat plus courtyard.
They wanted that so badly, Jim.
Well, it's just a straight up pimp walk.
One more try, please.
I'm already realized that's on the internet. Yeah, no, it's a pimp walk. Just do it. If you Google, there's a GIF of like it's this little guy in a school and he's got one of these plague masks on and he's just like strutting his best life. That's it. I'll link it to the chat here. But that's cat across the courtyard. But then I thought afterwards we might just do some interactive learning. I'm going to teach you. We've got kind of one-handed swords. And just I'll talk a little bit about how we approach doing all the sword forms, like where we come from, what our experiences. Usually there's two of us, so I'm just going to be silent for like great swathes of the speech. But basically, Dylan and I, the other halfway the Herring, have trained like competitive sword fighting for a long time. A lot of that was because when we were like, you know, coming of age, we were reading Wheel of Time, and we were like, hey, we should totally like take the sword stuff we know and try and see like how it would apply to the forms that our children know. And because they're obviously very, very interesting, flourished, you know, descriptions of everything, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that could mean. And there's kind of beauty to that as well, because everybody, you know, you don't need to know, like, he's not going, oh, he threw a quarter moon riposte and did this, and you're like, I don't know what that is. He's like, oh, he did the Herring waiting in the rushes, and you're like, oh, I can picture it now, it's magnificent, you know? But we basically, we took the process of, it was a bit like Sudoku. It was like a 10-year-long game of Sudoku, where we got the forms that had a physical description first. So the main one being River Undercuts the Bank is one of the only forms that has a full, he did this with his left knee and he came up this way, and like a full physical breakdown of the form. So what we did was we got the 2 or 3 forms that are like that, and then we put them as our tier 1 forms. Those are a full physical description. And then what we did was we went through it all and we found forms that are either countered or flowed into from those forms. So then we could say, well, we know for a fact this is River Undercuts the Bank. So if something counters River Undercuts the Bank, then that limits our options down as to what that could possibly be, you know? So we categorized them as our tier B forms that we're kind of sure of. And then we got into flavor country with the other ones. So these are forms that would have countered tier B. So we're like, okay, well, it's kind of like a Schrodinger's form, because if our tier B is correct, then this could be this. And that's kind of where the bulk of the work came in then. So that's what we did to make Way of the Herring and to control these things. These guys are really well. But basically, it's been super fun to do, and it's something that's constantly changing. So I don't know if anybody actually watches our YouTube channel. It's okay not to. But like you'll see occasionally like a form will just be like changed to like legacy, because we realized we were wrong. And like we're very much still in that process. So if like, even if one of you guys see something, you're like, hey, you're blatantly wrong about that, please tell me. But for the most part, it's really, really fun. We have been doing them two-handed, so I saw there was a katana somewhere. Can I borrow that?
There's a katana somewhere.
Thank you so much. So, oh, look. I had access to a prop master this morning. So we kind of went at everything from like an Eastern martial arts perspective to begin with, but we didn't want to limit ourselves to that as well, because one of the really, really cool things about the sword forms in the Wheel of Time is that they're like a universal language. So like when Rand is fighting, like, you know, pronunciation, real sorry on all, everything that's about to happen, sorry, right? Shanshan?
Yeah.
Shanshan? Yeah, am I right? When Rand is fighting Shanshan, look past he recognizes sword forms, right? So even though he had no like open line of communication with the Shanshan, I'm going to change it. And he's like, oh hey, that guy just used the boar rushes down the mountain on me, and stuff like that, you know? So like that was really interesting. But what's really cool about that is the Shanshan the Sansa, are they're described as like being like really kind of like hoity-toity duelists and stuff when they're fighting. So instead of like we're used to like the Borderlanders in land and stuff are like very stoic and they're in their like kenjutsu stances and stuff. But you might think like so. This is Moon on Water, right? Hello Moon on Water, he's the best one. This might be Moon on Water in the Borderlands. But if Rand was fighting a Shan or like a Kerry, someone who's going to have a different style of sword fighting because they come from a different culture, they're going to have a different type of blade, they might recognize this as Moon as Water because it functions the same. It's a low guard pointing towards your opponent's throat, and moving around in it and stuff is the same depending on what sword style you're fighting. So we tried really hard to try and make most of the forms something that could be translated across multiple styles. So if you're a fencer, you still get to learn the forms the way we teach them to someone who uses like a claymore. But yeah, this is really nice, by the way. I'm gonna take my notes. But yeah, so I might at the end of this teach you guys the rows and folds because it's a really cool, eloquent, graceful form, and you feel like an absolute boss when you pull it off. It's very fencery, but then we can look at that and see how it might transition over to like a two-hand, right? So just to get a clear idea of how, how all the forms work like that. So to jump in, does anybody have any forms they want to see? Or would like to know how they work?
Viper flicks its tongue.
Viper flicks its tongue? Yeah, absolutely. Viper flicks its tongue is a sword form that is way more useful when two people are using it. So if you and your buddy are fighting a guy, and you're going to be like, hey, let's hit this guy with Viper flicks his tongue, and we'll kill him. It'll be real fun. You got to remember, sword fighting is for killing people. It's not trying people. So this is kind of Viper flicks its tongue, right? It's very complicated. But the beauty of, can I get a volunteer to be another Viper, please? I'm going to pick someone. You've got a Hidori on, that makes more sense. Right. So, here's the beauty of Viper. So, when you're fighting someone, and you've got two Blade Masters, and they've got one Blade Master, you have a big advantage in that one sword can only block one side. So, if we're fighting this terrifying Trolloc, okay, he's here.
Yes?
Yeah.
Alright.
And we're like, oh no, he's going to murder us and burn our village. And we better use Viper flicks its tongue. So we give each other a knowing wink. And then what I'm going to do is hit him in the left side of the neck, pop, and you're going to hit him in the right side of the neck a moment later. So when I go, pop, he goes, and then you go, bah. And that's Viper flicks its tongue, which is like just bullying. Right? Yeah, thank you. That was
My work done.
That's your work done.
Oh,
Great
thank
Viper.
you.
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah.
For now.
Following the fan, it's great. Following the fan is a great one because it's just your chance to show off. Because at this point there's no danger, you've already won. And then if you do mess up, anybody might like it if they're dead. Following the fan is real cool because like it's one of those ones that we're pretty sure it's like, this. You all know the thing, right? From you all know the thing, the sheet, right? And then, you do that, the guy crumples over there in perfect time. That's it. But we figure, like, in real time, like, the Blade Masters, they're style, right? So, like, this is so different from my sword. I'm going to drop this into so. They're definitely not just going to be content with that. They're going to be like, that's where real time, right? And then I was watching a movie, right? Then I was watching an old Akira Kurosawa movie, and somebody did this. I'm going to drop it down. But he went, right? And that has to be folding the fan. I will accept nothing else but that for folding the fan. Does anybody else have any other sword forms they would like to work through, or any of the, yes?
Hummingbird kisses the honey rose.
Oh, one of my absolute favorites. Okay, so Hummingbird Kisses the Humming Rose is a form that's used when an opponent is not being defensive. So if the opponent is being very, very aggressive, you then have to counter that with the Hummingbird, right? So basically, great, I'd imagine, for trolleys because I don't think they're defensive. Yeah. So they're coming in and they're going. I think it was Pedro and Dial used this as well. Like in the first like proper White Cloak fight you see in the White Cloak City go. And he's like, everyone's like, oh, he's real low, he's going to get beaten. But then he uses Hummingbird kisses the Humming Rose, and everyone's like, oh my god, this is torturous. So what it is, it's kind of the whole death by 1,000 cuts thing, right? So, can I get a volunteer? For death by 1,000 cuts. Back up you go.
No volunteers.
So,
oh, thank God.
yeah, it's equal this time. So, how this works is, right, you're going to do very similar to Viper Flick this time, just little, exactly that image. And I'm a big trolloc, right? So, the Blade Master assumes a stance where they're like, I'm going to stop attacking, because when I do, I'm going to get hurt, you know? You'll fall back and you'll be more careful. So if the Trolloc takes a step forward, so on the Trolloc you're going to, don't step into the camera, but you take a step back.
All right.
And then when the Trolloc attacks, what you're going to do is wait for this big mad swing to pass by, and then you're just going to whack me on the wrist. So exactly like that. And then I go, ow, it's just a little cut, I'm fine. And then I come in and I go, rah, and you're going to hit me on the shoulder. Ow, it's just another little cut, but I'm fine. And then I'm going to go, rah. It's just a third little cut. I'm not feeling that good, but I'm still able to fight. And then 5 or 6 little cuts later, you're like, I might be in a lot of trouble here. And that's the Hummingbird kisses the Honey Rose. So it's absolutely just meant to be used on someone who's like raging at you. It's one of my like absolute favorite ones.
And then just opportunistically.
Yeah, you literally like, because if you can imagine the hummingbird, you know, the way they like flit around and they do all this. That's kind of like, so when you're fighting, you kind of just very daintily like there's a little country, there's a little country. And that's how you win fights where they're actually you know, doing any big mad crazy swings. Yeah, that's hummingbird. Any others?
I'm going to hold on to it.
Yeah, hold on to them. Realistically, right? We all know.
Nice to be said.
The river undercuts the bank. Literally, it's a real risk versus reward. River undercuts the bank, right? They swing for something high, you lower the target. So they like, if they don't do this if they're aiming at like your side or your waist, because then you're going to get your head hit. So what you want to do is when the attack comes in. Originally we had it like this, right? We took it like as written, it was just this. But then we realized like if this attack is coming in this way, like all they have to do is this and you're dushed. So we we put a little bit of the swallow takes flight into it. So this position here is the swallow takes flight, and it's magical because it will guard anything. Well, all of it, anything. So if an attack comes in from the top, it'll block it. If an attack comes in from the bottom, it'll block it. If an attack comes in from the side, it'll block it. If an attack comes in from the other side, it'll block it. So like when I'm teaching sword fighting, this is one of the first guards I teach them. Just in real life it's called an ox guard or a hanging guard. You see it all the time with fencers. They're standing like this and they're waiting, and then they swoop and they come back into it and stuff like that. But it's like almost perfect defense. The only thing you can't really defend against is something coming along the angle of the blade. So then you just go, whoop, and you go into the opposite stance. So we meshed that in with the river undercuts the bank. So now when the attack comes in, as you drop to your knee, you move through this. So if you do, you know, if you do a bit of a wobbly and it's not as nice as it should be, you're guarded. And then when you know you're safe, then you can flick through into the river undercuts the bank and win your fight. Yeah. Very good. Any other forms? Or we jump into
Heron waiting in the rushes.
Heron waiting in the rushes. I love heron waiting in the rushes.
Just one more. No.
It's just for balance. No, it's this. Right, that's our interpretation. We did have actually a great video on this with Rob and
See if I can get it.
yeah. Oh no, not the skit though.
Yes, the skit. Yes, the skit.
But basically, this is one of those ones that is just described as being like the blade master is balanced on one foot, so it's like just a balance exercise. We took it to be this, and I think we just took it solely because some fan art they were doing this, and it kind of looks like a heron. Don't you think?
Yes,
Yeah. I like herons. So we did that. And then, you know, we did a thing with MalkieriCon. I don't know, you guys probably found it. But because he came from Kung Fu, his was more like this kind of thing. Like he was up and fully like in flight, which was really cool. I hope you can find it. But yeah, it's one that's...
You hope I don't or I do?
I can't really remember, so we'll see after. But basically, it's one of those ones that's quite easy when you do this, and then very hard when you go up on your toes. So I remember we were first learning it, I was like, this isn't hard at all, I could do this for ages. And then Joe was like, Jim, you're meant to be on the ball of your foot. I was like, look, this is much harder. So that's the heron wading in the rushes. But the whole thing that like Lan is telling him about is that like, you're like this, they come in, and you get one good, which is obviously not ideal for your guts. But you might win the fight. So, you won't live, but you win the fight. Which is also the whole premise behind sheathing the sword, right? Because everybody thinks sheathing the sword, right? That's what people think. But it's one of those forms that's absolutely a mindset, right? So imagine Mr. Trolloc is here, right? And he's like, "Rawr, I'm going to eat your brother." And you're like, "No, he knows the mother." So you're like, okay, look, I don't want him, frolicking over there. I'm probably not going to be able to beat this guy in a fight, so I'm going to sheath the sword. And that is, you just run at the dude. If you have to, take their sword in your gut and get your sword in theirs. And you lose, he loses, but everyone over there is fine. And that's absolutely what sheathing the sword is. It's like a Machiavellian mindset of just doing absolutely whatever it takes to just take this person out of play. That's sheathing the sword. It's a real cool one. Yeah, go on. Cool, those different books. Yeah. I'm going to run through the... Oh, now we found.
One second, I'll get the volume covered. Why is the volume not going up?
Interesting fact, they're not real birds. I put an ambiance track on it.
Of course you did.
It's the local birds were just not pulling their weight.
So, basically what we're going to do is have two guys just assume the heron wading through the rushes, and we'll then compare and contrast back in the video with Rob. So, Joe, are you ready? Absolutely. Very good. And are you ready? Yes. Excellent. So, Joe, if you wouldn't mind just assuming the form there. And if you wouldn't mind. All of the I'm super another variation hinge forward. Waist, two hands on the weapon, back, over the head, looking back. Keeping an eye on the very movement. And there you have it. One form, two dramatically different takes on it from two dramatically different martial arts. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope we were able to illustrate how the forms might serve as a unifying language or a universal language for all the bladesmiths in Wheel of Time, that even though your physical representation of the form isn't the exact same as someone else's, you will be able to recognize the use and the purpose of that form. So without further ado, we'll throw it back to Rob, and we can maybe discuss how Rand and Lan would have done it in the books. Wait. Oh, I was just saying how Rand and Lan might have done it in the books. No, I understand. Why do you pronounce it? No. Don't, I'm sorry, Matt. Don't Don't get it started. No. Do you know what? No, Dylan. I'm sick of this. I'm actually sick of this. It's pronounced LAN. L-A-N. That's how it's spelled. That spells LAN. You don't hook up all the computers together and have a lawn party, do you? That's a completely different thing.
Okay. I will tell Hans Soden that he was pronouncing his name the next time I see him. Robert Jordan himself said it's pronounced.
You know, I don't have to stand here and listen to this.
I will let the mother's last place, or I will listen to Jamie pronounce it.
Oh, yeah? That can be arranged. Come on, Jim, let's not do this again.
It's too late, Dylan. I'm already there.
I can demonstrate content.
Proudest moments. But the Sean Chat variation doesn't go. Okay, I just realized that's there. So, what might be cool is to show some of the combos from the books, or some fight scenes from the books, if you like to break them down. I might get Rob to pull up another video for me now in a minute, where there was a time we took all the sword forms that we had and we applied them to the duel between Valda and... Is everybody... We're going to spoil anything very badly here? Okay, cool. Between the duel between Valda and Galan, the Trial Beneath the Light it was called. It was tied when I made this video, so I named it Embers on Dry Grass, which is the name of the chapter that we made fight do. But then also, I can show you the combo Rand would use to take down the Sean Shannon Lord as well. The sins on the Lord. So he led in with the boar rushes down the mountain, or the boar runs downhill. There's two and they're very close and I always get confused. But basically the boar rushes down the mountain is about being like super aggressive and just like almost just hate powering your opponent away, okay? So it's always described as like a series of downwards blows raining down your opponent's head and shoulders. So like, very much when you're fighting somebody like this going on too long and then use the boar rushes down the mountain, you just start like hammering them with blows until one, they run away, or two, they're just kind of like absolutely forced down. But then we thought that Blade Masters would be like way more like dancey about it, because like they're always described as like dancing. So if you can do this, that's fine. But anyone with a sword can do that. But then if you change it and you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, that's way more good time, right? That's what happens. Okay? Maybe something's like, no, you just get like this. But I mean that's so he gets the Shanshan Lord Turak, right? I'm just getting racist. Shanshan, then that's the thing. Turak is fighting him and he knows he has to drive him back down the hall and get the final blow. So what's really cool about this is because he recognizes the forms that Turak is using, he's like, I can play into this. So he leads in with the start of Boar Rushes Down the Mountain, which he knows would be 1, 2, 3. So knowing that the High Lord knows the forms, he's playing on the High Lord, then anticipating that third strike. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, he swaps at the last moment and goes 1, 2, 3, and comes through into the river and puts the bank, knowing full well that Shanshan would go 1, 2, 3. And as that last guard comes up, Rand goes down, and the rest is history. And also the future. Right? Very good.
Which video do you watch?
I think it's on my channel. It's like Embers on Dry Grass. It's the one we did for the Dusty Wheel, that thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so what time is it?
It's 20 past 2, just on 20 past 2, so you've got like another 35 minutes.
So, do you guys want to get up and do the rows and folds? Yeah. Okay, anybody who wants to unfold the rows, please come this way. I have Alex amount of swords, so I know I'm getting more on a pair of chance.
One with the handles come away from the bottom. So.
Okay, cool. One of your swords is broken, so be ready.
It might be that one.
Yeah, well, I'll use this one. So. Do we have anything else still looking for a sword?
This big.
Okay, here you go. And then we're all going to rotate this. You can use it. You brought your own, brilliant.
I brought my own.
I wasn't. We are going to move around a little, not too much. So just make sure you've got enough space so that if you do a backswing, you're not going to hit somebody in the
Please don't take out the cameras.
and then also, I want to ask everyone to just be aware there's some kind of Age of Legends nonsense. That just kind of resolved itself, so happy days. Right, so everybody choose for the first little bit a Blade Master and a Peasant. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you got to be the peasant, not yet, right? Our Blade Master is going to first off strike a pose. That's the most important part of all of this. Yeah, for sure. You got to get your absolute Carrion nonsense on. Carrion? You gotta get your crawdad nonsense on. So, how the rows and folds works is you take kind of a loose guard, you've got it down like this, you adopt an air of mobility, if you would. And then your opponent is going to try and strike at your chest. They're made foam, so I don't have to give you the please don't stab me. The first thing you're going to do, right, is you're going to hold the sword gangster style, right? So you tip down, and then no, you're going to stab me. Oh no, yeah, they're foam, cool. And what you're going to do is, as this stab comes in, you're going to rotate your arm across your body this way to just deflect the stab, so it'll be harmlessly in the air here. So as you go to stab me, we're just going to intercept the stab. Ooh, stab. Yeah, we're going to intercept the stab and just let it pass by harmlessly. Very good. So this is like a very basic riposte. Okay? So as you receive the stab, you step in, boom, I'm safe. But you've got this nice motion going. Actually, practice that first. Okay, I'll teach you. So exactly like that. You just pushing it across. So, and turn your grip so you've got it like that, which is absolutely boss. So hold it like this. And as I stab, you just push the nose and fall. Do that and then walk down to the other. How's it going?
Yes, John.
Hold it like this.
Switching.
So hold it like so. Like a regular sword. And then just let the tick go. Back to your roses. And as the stab comes in, okay.
Holding the sword.
Has everyone had sufficient practice in their first rows unfolded?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so we've blocked it aside. The next thing is we need to actually win the sword fight, right? Which is kind of important. So as the stab comes in,
Never mind.
sorry, you're the peasant now. So as the stab comes in, you're blocking it aside, and then this motion, because it's all a dance. Remember, in real time, it's all a dance. You're once stepping out to come into the middle, so I don't accidentally break a camera. As all their momentum is coming forward, right? They're like, I've got this. I'm gonna stab that guy. So you move in, and then as it comes, you waltz step out to the side. I don't think that's a waltz step, but I don't waltz.
It is now.
It is. This is a waltz step. Tell your friends. You step out of the line of combat, and then this motion keeps going, and you step back and bottom. So this is where we've got to be really sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. But that's your motion. So here's the rows, and this is it unfolding. And they've been unkept. Yeah. Very good. So I'm going to stab you, and you're going to
I'm going to step.
decapitate me.
Okay, so we're stabbing her.
When you do that, I can turn around. So you want to get yourself out of the danger zone. They're chasing we're going to learn one more aspect is courtier taps their fan.
Yes.
So, Yeah, everybody does this, right? This is what you do, right? But that won't stop the sword. No, it won't. That's right. There's long hours of us getting stabbed and being like, stop me. It needs a little more juice. So unfortunately we have to be slightly less and a little more Borderlander in this instance. So when we learned this, it was very dramatic. It was like this. You got your sword down, as the stab comes in, you go, boom, and then you're in control of the situation, right? That's a two-handed move. We all have one-handed swords, so now it becomes elegant. Okay? So, swapsies. Thank you. So as the stab comes in, you're drawing a circle with the tip of the blade. So you just make a little, okay? And you have to make a noise. That's actually. So you want, yeah, you kind of want to go inside to outside. If you go outside to inside, it still works. That's just a classic prima in fencing.
Okay.
But for Courtier Taptis Fan, we want the bodaciousness. You know, like it's got to be totally bodacious. So if you go inside to outside and come and scoop up over, you've got a lot more power then because, right? It still works the other way. You can just be like, sword fight, I win. But for the real time, I think it will be very much like they charge the Sherlock and they're like, right? So, what we're doing? Carolyn,
Are you using the, what's this called?
the basket.
Like the guard, yeah.
You can if you want, but I actually interesting sword facts with Jim. This bit is called the forte, right? So if someone is swinging at you, swing down at me. I block it with the forte because it doesn't go anywhere. This bit is called, I think it's called the foible. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I block with this, something very nasty happens. The sword comes down.
It goes back into your face.
I get two swords in the face. Two for one special. So when you're doing something like this, you want to be on either the forte or the medio because that's where you've got the power to really control the situation. You know, you can catch it on the hilt, but with this classic weapon. It's going to glance off in this move, and you run the risk of like hitting your thigh. But absolutely, if you had something with like more of a like a traditional guard with like the hooks and all on a basket hook, yeah, you could roll it down.
I don't know if like that corner there is something.
But you know what that's actually for? Is it does a couple of things. When you're fencing someone, usually there's like another little guard in over your fingers, and they go to stab, and you do this. And you're like, and then it has another incredibly elegant use.
This?
So imagine, we'll do the roll again. So you're pressing stabbing. 1, 2, boom.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what that's for, mostly. But if you ever see the really like eloquent like Scottish basket hilts, they have like hoops on hoops for like, even if you mess up your block, there's a solid chance their sword's getting stuck in yours and you just go like,
Do that again.
This is the hair loops. That's what you know about I don't know what to do.
He's basically walking on air.
It looks like a Okay, so you gotta come at your opponent and pull out all of the stuff. Everybody wants to give the Courtier taps their fan and go, again, it's just a little, okay?
So wait, so out.
So in this case, yeah, we like come under. But it doesn't matter. As long as it's a circle, it'll do the job. So the trick is with this one, easiest way to do this is just draw a circle around my chest in your position. Okay, so whenever it's and it's real like most important part of sword fighting is never leave someone not killed. I don't.
Okay.
Teach my student class in the hall. I actually don't want to jump in on one.
Right now anyway, but you
Keep playing. You guys should get some practice. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's it. So remember, just a second. Actually, the smaller you get circle, the better this is. This is more difficult. And then you obviously just. And this is where we're going to flow from form to form, like dancing. Like this, right? Okay, so what we are going to do is, I need a peasant, please. So, peasant, yes. Like we just started out, we actually used to train sword fighting in the same hall an hour after each other. Right? We just found that out. So first thing that's going to happen is you're going to stab. I'm going to do the court side. The court just have to stab. But instead of killing you, you're going to move back, and you're going to stab again, and I'm going to rows and folds, and we're going to have a little real-time sword fight. So it's going to look like this. 1, and then you pull back, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And now everybody is borderline. Sit. Let's go for it. Yeah, exactly. How's it going? That's it. He's going to sit around and say, swallow takes flight. Okay? So this is, if anybody has done fencing,
Sorry,
and
did you want the
know
video?
how much I'm just robbing this from fencing, okay? So this is a sword meet. Also, if I ever say sword meet, that's your chance to really go. So, right, again, I kind of spoke about this one a little earlier, but this is the swallow takes flight, right? It's called the hanging guard, but this is just fun to mess around with because you feel like an absolute Inigo Montoya, two references. Like,
I didn't feel like falling over.
uh,
To die.
Exactly, and I expect to hear that. Holding the sword like this, right? So it's kind of crossing over you at an angle, slightly pointed up with the tip lower than the hilt. You guys know, I don't know what I'm explaining. And if you just raise and lower that, it'll block almost anything, right? Looks a bit silly until then somebody tries taking swings at you and you're like, okay, you know what, you can do it because I'm so confident in this. Look, no, I'll swing. Look, he's blocked it. He's blocked it. He's blocked it. Almost. He's blocked it. He's blocked it. It's a wonderful guard. It blocks everything. If you're ever actually in a sword fight, use this one. You might survive. So we're just going to do a little practice with this one, okay? And you're just going to sit there with your swallow taking flight majestically in front of you, and your mate is going to wail on you. You're going to see how many you can block, okay? This though, it actually has two notes, but I'm only going to tell you one if you're about to sword fight you. If you strike along the angle the blade is at, so swing at me this way, it's not going to work. You're going to take off all my knuckles on my face depending on the length of the blade. So if that happens, you just go, nah, right? Just, nah. Or, if you want to get real fancy, you can court your tops to family, okay? Now see, we're learning Blade Master things. Right, so just practice that for a hot minute, and then we'll see what we get to after that. We're losing a lot of stuff.
Jim,
Yeah.
the tweeter of chaos would like to know if you could do a staff form instead.
A staff form? For sure, tweeter.
They're watching right now.
Are they? Do we have a staff? I can do a form on the staff. Get one of them.
Someone wants a spear anyway.
Who wants a spear?
James, what's your spear?
Do you think they'd mind if I... Yeah, it seems like real rude to just take an iron
James won't mind.
Okay, right.
I'm the token wetland again.
Hello, tweeter of chaos. No, okay, I'm going to be legit about this and just straight up tell you there are no staff forms because I understand that you just stabbed the dude, right? So, this is actually a really interesting lesson in this universal language of sword forms, okay? So remember I just taught you the swallow takes flight, right? And how Rand would recognize that the Shan Shan are using it one-handed. It's the same thing, right? He recognized the essence of the form in Tweeter of Chaos. With this is not sharp. I'm going to use it this way. Imagine there's a spear. It's the same with a spear. So, I don't want to break their spear. Come at me with a foam weapon. So you'd recognize this as the same form, right? So if you're attacking me, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slightly harder with a spear because you run the risk of moving your fingers. And then to counterattack, it's as simple as the block and bop. You block, and you bop. And then if you want spear nonsense, because everybody does, that's expensive. If you do want spear nonsense, it's just a whole heap of like Darth Mauling it up a heap. Oh, if you like that, hold on. If you're still there, treat of chaos.
I'm sweating in fear now.
This is how an IO fights. 2 steps back. They go, ha, and then they go, ha, and then they go, ha, and they go, ha. And then they stop showing off and they just stab the dude. They just stab the dude, right?
You should do the guy in cat and sword because that would look good.
The what?
There's he's gone.
That's who owns the spear.
This is, yeah. But there's also real cheeky things you can do. Like, you're like, oh, you want to fight me? Yeah, that's fine. That's a... And you kick it out of my hands, real nasty. You can also, there's a cool thing we used to do in competition with spears, and people don't see it coming, is they expect you to fight in a couple of stances, right? So this is your pike man stance, where you're like, hey, get back, and you've got 100 people on this side doing it, you've got 100 people on this side doing it, it's ruddy intimidation. Or they expect you to kind of like be darting around and trying to, find the opening of their guard and stuff. That's threading the needle, if anybody could. But you can also do this, which like people just don't see coming. It's going this way. Yeah, this way. So you can fight like this, right? Now it's super. You lose most of your distance, but when you do this, and again the ideal spears will probably be a little shorter than this. I think, not to decanonize the spear. I think the ideal spears are meant to be about this long, if I'm remembering my fine art correctly. But with a longer spear, you can fight like this, and it's suddenly fencing, right? So it's fencing, and then they get into the mindset of fencing, and suddenly an extra 8 feet appears. So there's some spear forms. I'm very sorry, Tweeter, yes, but I'm here to teach these people sword forms, not you.
They were fine. They didn't actually want the fuss. They just like waiting here with spear silently. So I actually asked the question. I thought I knew you'd do something if I asked.
I did a flip for you. Chaos is in the name, and I was not. It's not mine to give. Right, let's learn another sword form because I have so much time yet. Is there any sword form anybody would like to learn from the books? I'm not doing the captains. No, I'm not doing the pip walk, whatever it is. I'm not going to say his name, the cat. Crossing the courtyard. Is there anything else that you'd like to do, or any bit in the book you'd like to see how that kind of played out in my head? Because again, not counted. If not, I'm just going to pick a cool sword form for us all to learn. Okay, it's Arc of the Moon. Let's do Arc of the Moon, everybody. Okay. So, can I sword me? Remember, that's your chance to kill me.
It's an entirely possibility with that, so I think we might want to rephrase that.
True. So Arc of the Moon is real nice, and it's one of those like super blade mastery ones. Like this is the one Tom Cruise did with the sunset behind him. So basically, this is like Trolloc coming this way, Trolloc coming this way. One blade master breaking it, and he's got to kill 2 people from 2 directions very, very quickly. Okay. So first thing we do is we bring the sword back into this. This is the eel amongst the lily pads, this guarding position. And the reason is, this is tangential, but I will tangent. The reason this is eel amongst the lily pads is because this is the eel, and you can just see its little head poking out, but you don't know how much eel is actually underneath the lily pad, so you're disguising the measure of your blade. And what we're going to do is throw an uppercut this way, and then, assuming we've killed this Trolloc, because if we haven't, that's our chance, we're gone anyway. We're turning our body, so this sword form is about turning your body more than turning the blade, and then we're stepping back and putting the sword in this one's face. So when you do it, and again, this is just this is just a real Tom Cruise ass move. So Trolloc 1, sliced, Trolloc 2, sliced. So it's proper like, they drill this like in the hundreds in the Borderlands, and they're all like, ha! Ha! And there's amazing voices and it sounds great. But the nice thing about this is it can be done on any vector. Vector is a fancy word. I used your spear, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's not good.
Good. So, if you want to look like if you want to look like you know what you're doing, throw a load of these out in different directions and you look like Geralt or something. So like, oftentimes I'll have my students, like if somebody comes in and I'll try to make a good impression on them, like, I'm going to draw the moon. Because you can kind of go like, that's just what I taught you. Do it this way. Do it sideways. And then suddenly, you're moving around like a blade master and you're really only doing one move. But it looks like you're doing a kata or something that you spent years practicing, but like you're like, nah, just swing it, then swing it again, swing it, swing it again. That's real cool. And then if you want to look like you really know what you do, start throwing flourishes, because why not? It's a party. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then suddenly it's like, oh, now it's Star Wars, you know? And you're controlling a river that cuts the bank, into a swallow takes flight, into a moon on water, into a moon rises over water, into a heron, whatever he does, and then you get stabbed. But that's, in my head, what flowing through the forms looks like. You know, it's not the brutal foot soldier combat of bonk him, bonk them, bonk her, or whatever. You know, it's slice them, slice her, a trolley, run. You know, it's much more graceful. So we're going to look at this. It's useless. We're going to practice the Arc of the Moon. So. We're going to break your groups up. I know you've come to love each other, but we're changing it up. So we're going to break into groups of 3. So, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Was it 4?
And you, therefore.
3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We have the right numbers. See, I dove into that without actually counting you guys. Right, for this group, someone's going to have an imaginary sword because we're not introducing the wooden one. And what I want you to do, this is a great game, I can tie my foot lengths while I do it. One person's going to be the blade master being accosted by 2 peasants, okay? And the blade master is going to have to do Arc of the Moon and try and hit the 2. So the peasant's game is to try and position yourself like hands of a lethal clock, and you're going to try and get the blade master, okay? And we're going to do it Baywatch style, okay? There's a lot of people moving around here, so we're going to move Baywatch style for this one, okay? So, Martin, so your aim is peasant, you have to go 1, 2, and try and think ahead of time, what way do I need to spin? So the main thing with this is you want to keep your stance a little wide, because it's much friendlier when it's spinning to have a wide stance, because you won't do this and follow. Okay? Everybody ready? Let's get with the lines.
No idea.
You can just go in like, extras in the room. Basically, just trying to balance, get your footwork. Lots of overhead space. So what you're going to do is it's just basically just a game where you're trying to get used to swinging and keeping that same line. Exactly. And then what the peasants have to do is try and that's going to upset that and get you on the right way. And try it very horizontal and very straight as well, because that's where it's from. And a real good mindset to end this is protect the rope. Okay? Because when you swing a rope, you have to follow the way it's going. Follow me. These guys are the most focused.
Do you get it?
If you
Yes, go ahead and see that
Yeah, very good. This is all about execution and like
This is not how you win. You again. I win.
you literally just
I think I was in. This is happening live.
Trevor's the one that died today, so I'm not gonna watch
It's far too satisfying. It's just tiny little
How goes it? Don't worry so much about the defense aspect of this, but it's a purely on foot with stuff. But if you want to I think you spin this hand over the main thing here Okay, I know you guys swap with somebody else is on. You're taking people down. I think that's all the we have time for because there's going to be more questions from the again, all these guys get imaginary hands, they keep them with them forever, but there's actually no physical reward. And I think it's just for some questions as well from the Twitchosphere, right? Is that the right word? Am I down with the sickness on that one? So there's a couple of requests, we'll just run through them very quickly and then... Thank you very much.
Want this broken one back?
That's a straight ship now. That's very good. Okay, so our first Twitter forum is Rat Non-Blade, which is really cool because it's one of the only forums you see a non-blade master doing, which is a real cool hint to something that happens in universe where like non-blade masters also know the forums. They're not blade masters, but the forums exist. Why wouldn't they be like on the blade map, right? So in Hinterstrap, that lovely place, you see one of the band with the red hand actually tries this and they get like through a door. So not knowing the grain, the way we saw it is it's like a series of like micro strikes pointed forward. So like you're fully just bothering the opponent. And it's like little stabs coming in at different angles, kind of, you know, like make them block that way and then pull it back and stab them in the face. You know, they block the face, you pull it back and you whack them in the shoulder. So that rat knowing the grain is very much like, you know, like when you see the 10-year-old, so it's like that's rat knowing the grain. And it's super actually really good if you're ever in the sword fight, because surprisingly, all the skill in the world, this is still very hard to not get killed by. So yeah, just be a little tactical and go like right, high, low, do sneaky things, you know. But that's rat knowing the grain, and it's exactly as awful as its description.
Plucking the low-hanging apple.
Plucking the wrong. Oh. This is
So cool, really?
it's exactly as exciting as what you think. This is the one I had my moment in the sun with, because I put it on TikTok. I was like, I'm going to be youthful. I'm going to go on TikTok. And I put it on, and it got like more views than I had any business owning. But so many hateful comments. They hated it. And there were a few people who were like, oh, that's real good. And everyone else was like, hey, we're working real sword. But you think there's monsters, it doesn't matter. But this one is great. It comes from a move called, and I'm going to butcher this actual word pronunciation, a spin. You do spin. Okay? But the idea is, you're fighting them, and you step in and you go, and then they go, that's easy. And they block like this, and then you go, and the strike looks like it's coming from the right, and at the very last second, whoa, it's coming from the left. So, it's used, in the books, this is used on people, oh, someone online asked this, I should be here. In the books, this is used on people who aren't trained. So this is the blade master has to go through like a footman or a baker to get to what they want, you know? They're just going, you slice bread, now I slice you jump in and you really exaggerate this, and they're like, oh, it's so obvious what they're going to do, and it's still so obvious, and then you flip it, and they're dead. But the nice thing about it is, if they know what you're up to, you just hit them that way. Like either they're good and they're dead, or they're bad and they're dead. So that's plucking the low-hanging fruit, because it's just a free weight, right? That's what it's called, that. Yeah, happy days, we love that one.
So we've got oak shakes its branches.
This is technical, right? So the oak shakes its branches is this is a great one, because this is like a media trend. Okay. This is oak shakes its branches. This is used by a couple of people, and this is used when you don't want to kill the person. Right? I don't get it. I don't get it. But Garrett Bryn uses it. Garrett Bryn?
Yeah, doesn't he use it with Gowan?
He does, yeah. This is a real, like, stupid child.
Yeah.
That's wrong, you know? But he also uses it when, like during the schism, so sad. There's some warders or something blocking the gate, and he's like, I don't want to kill these guys, they were my friends like 10 minutes ago. So he uses oak shakes the branches to take them out, like, non-lethally. So it's not so much a single move as it is like a mindset. So it might be you fighting with the flat of the blade, you know, and instead of cutting, you're just kind of like slapping. But what else it could be? What else it could be? It could also be something like getting in close, blocking the sword, elbowing them in the back of the head, right? You put them down, but they probably still have some quality of life after you.
They can just die with a concussion.
Yeah, exactly. But it also says in the books that it's one that the warder masters would very often use to like discipline poor form. So like, if I'm gone, right? Because Gowan, he doesn't deserve the pronunciation. If I'm an embarrassment, and I've got my guard. Sorry, I got so into trash talking Gowan that I just kind of got it. If I'm an embarrassment, please always tell me. I'm going to keep doing that because the face is up here. And I've got my guard kind of like wrong, you know? And I'm, it's Hamar, isn't it? Hamar, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm Hamar. I'm going to be like, oh my God, these children, how can I reach these children? true violence. So I'm going to do something like, whoop, boof, and a real embarrassing kick in the face, because there's no blade there to warrant me worrying about my foot, you know? So Oak Shakes Its Branches is very much just, either one, you don't want to kill people and you're lovely, or two, you're really nasty and you want to embarrass people, right? So that's what that is.
And then parting the silk.
Parting the silk. Have all y'all seen The Bodyguard?
Yes.
Right, you know what this is.
Head of the scarf.
Yeah, right? How could it be anything else? But basically, it's an uppercut, so we'll go away from the projector. Parting the silk is like this, right? It's just a single cut, but it's like a really elegant uppercut. And when you're doing it, you need to have someone to throw silk at you, obviously. You could consider your opponent the silk, okay? So from here,
You
we...
feel bad for it. Taking somebody's skin off.
So it starts with a little, like, nasty little flourish here, because they're like, what are they doing? Spin the sword, in the middle of a sword fight, and then whoosh, you cut their face off. Right? That kind of stuff. Less nasty. But yeah, so that's parting silk. And what you can do with that is you can chain it, and you can be like 1, 2, 3, and you can really like charge them. Because like if you get someone who's not comfortable with defending rising attacks, they're really not comfortable with defending. It's either something you know how to block, or you're dust, right? So that's what that is. You're just basically like flicking the sword up at them in really graceful, swishy motions. It's a swish. It's a swish.
Does that mean then that that would be a good way of counteracting the other
Thinking
one?
like a blade dance.
What was that one called?
Yes!
Because I'm pulling up the
It goes
sword.
up the vector of the blade. That's it, science. It goes up the angle of the blade. Yeah, for sure. I heard it for you.
Disclaimer, I don't have Eric's to hand out.
No, I'm giving him imaginary
Ah,
characters.
sweet.
Yeah, it's emotional value.
Nice.
What would be interesting is talking about how sometimes we change. I got my foot up. What we do is sometimes we change the way we look at forms. So we have guardian forms, right? So you've got moon on water, moon rises over water. The swallow rides the air, the swallow takes flight. The falcon stoops, the eel wants the lily pads. These are ones we call passive forms. So, passive forms. I'm supposed to be aware, but I'm not just supposed to be aware. It's like, hey, I forgot that thing you guys have reminded me of like 8 times now. So you've got passive forms. I'm not going to say their names again, it took ages. But like these are your passive guarding positions that you... This angle, but this one we originally had as water flows downhill because we were baby way of the hairy people. We were like, it's pointing down, water flows downhill. But then we were like, no, that's not sick as heck. So now like, water flows downhill is real cool where they go to do something to your head, it doesn't matter what they're doing. And you step in, and then you go, woo, and cut back in their head, right? Which is a real time thing. Because I know you've all been on What Lucky the whole time, right? And you see that picture of like 3 people doing that, right? That's totally what, like, there's no way those guys aren't coming out of a roll, right? Why else would they be doing that? It's silly otherwise. But that's it, and that's, you cut the opponent. So again, you know, they go to stab you, you go ping, and then you roll around them real close so they can't hit you when you're rolling, because rolling is generally, something real hard in that though. Rolling is generally a very bad idea, so it's fine. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. Look, you're cutting them in the back of the leg then, and it's a quality of life blow, you know, you're just absolutely taking them out of fight. So in a way, it's a little bit of the Oak Shakes Its Branches as well, you know? Any more?
Cutting the
Cutting the clouds.
Clouds, yeah.
Yeah, very similar to parting the silk, but it's like, parting the silk is all in the wrist, right? Cutting the clouds is like, the blade almost stays at this thing and you just, like that. So if they're coming in and overextending on a horizontal cut like that, you can go, and just cut their hands off like Luke Skywalker style, right? And that's my interpretation. But like, hands in the air, that's one we were like, it's probably that, we'll come back to it. So that could change anything. Probably will. Kesh, question.
You mentioned the internal embarrassment that was going, and
so shameful.
it just got me thinking. He did make a bit of a tit of himself.
Very much so.
But he would have been highly trained.
Yeah, for sure.
Would
Don't give him that credit.
so noble houses, the sons would have been trained. Would there have been styles and certain combinations of forms that Andor would have been taught that might be different to ones of carrying in?
I fully think it would have. Yeah, we've talked about that again briefly. But I think for sure, I think like you're going to get like so Borderlanders are going to be like. No, this is an in-person question. I'm going to direct it to the. Sorry. So you've got Borderlanders, right? So say they're going to use real aggressive forms, right? So again, Rand, I feel, would fight in the Borderlander style because Lan is the one who taught him, right? So that's when you get this form coming out of him where he's like 1, 2, 3, and it's all go through the opponent, right? It's very much like you're in my way. I'm gonna do 8 aggressive sword forms, and then you're gonna be 8 weak bits of a human, right? So that's I think how like a Borderlander would approach it. They chain heavy, aggressive, like super violent forms. Whereas you get a Carrick, a Siren, they're going to they're probably going to like be more like a cat toying with their opponent, right? Because they're like when they're sword fighting, a lot of that I'm going to guess is like in like high political duels and stuff like so they're going to be using a lot more of the like really it's a game because like it's everything's a game, right?
Yeah.
So like there it's like it's in every way but physical. It is a political debate for them, but they're just doing it through the medium of sword fighting, right? That's the way I figured. So their combos are going to be like, darting, riposting, and fencing,
And
proper
trash talking.
trash talking, right? Yeah. Ever play Monkey Island?
Yes!
It's going to be like Monkey Island. It's not about the style. This is something you're doing, but you're like, you knave, your socks smell like watermelons. And you're trying to deal with emotional damage to it. But I'm not good at trash talking. Or I'm great at it, I don't know. Yeah, I think for sure. And then the Shan are going to be like hyper-militant in the way they do. Or maybe they'll be like kind of like, oh, it's political intrigue as well. But I got the vibe they came over and they started killing people, so they're probably like, no nonsense. That one's fighting us, put in the ground kind of thing. Kind of midway between the Borderlander style and the carrying style. So they'd be using things like the boar charge down. I always get mixed up. The boar perambulates down the incline. So like, that's actually a great form as well, because if you ever actually just straight up need to just get someone out of there, like I mean out of life, like real quick, they go into their guard and you go, boom, right? And they're Dunzo, they're Dunzo Washington. So I think, yeah, absolutely fantastic question. For sure, you get the different cultures like assuming different mindsets, and that will come true in the way they fight as well. I tangented hard, but yes, great question. Any other questions? Oh, question, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So there's 2 ways to become a Blade Master. One is to kill a Blade Master, and
Yes.
the other is to be judged by existing Blade Masters. And I'm wondering, like, where do you think the bar would be to be judged as a Blade Master? Is it on the number of forms that you know, or how fluid you are while doing it?
That's very interesting, because we, like Dylan and I, long nights staring into each other's eyes, discussing the bar of where this is like master. But and I was really, like, is it technical ability? Is it like, they do a cat? We made a kata, by the way. It's great. I won't do it because I forgot. But it's on YouTube. Huh?
You can look at the video.
Look at the videos. We made a kata. If you usually don't know, a kata is like a string of movements that you learn that tie together moves and build up your muscle memory, and you look really cool doing it. But maybe it would be like, the way like some of the Eastern martial arts would score katas. Where like, when I go out and I do a kata, right? I used to not be good at competitions in karate because it's actually almost exactly this setup. It's like very often a conference room with a big square. And I used to come in and be like, I'm ready for my kata. And I always lost. And I was like, why? Because I didn't have that fighting spirit when I was doing it. And then as I trained and got closer to the black belt, I started understanding that it's not that, it's this. and there's a fighting spirit in that. And if somebody comes out and they're like, you know, like the Blade Master's going to be like, for sure, yes. But I do think a lot of it will be like them being like, this person is not ready. Like they don't have the fighting spirit. They don't have the. If anyone's ever read David Gemmell, he has a great way of describing it. He calls it the look of egos. When somebody is completely at ease with the sword that they're hitting, and they walk in, they're like, let's not fight that guy because he'll kill us. You know. I think that's a big part of it. And then I do think technical ability. If you're showing the forms and you're moving through like something and you go, they're like, what is that? You're in the parks, get going, let me coach you. And then I think, I don't know that knowing the amount of forms matters, right? You have an understanding of all of them because I think it would work like a syllabus, right? So again, to go back to karate, when you're learning karate, the first thing you learn is your basic attacks, your basic blocks, some low kicks and stuff, you know? But then when you go on, you start moving into like the knife hand stuff and the like ridiculous like side punches and stuff. And I think you move through a syllabus, and to get to the point where you would be up for this test, I think it will be accepted that you have working knowledge of them. So I think it's more on the mastery of the forms and the mindset and the way you carry yourself doing them. Yeah, for sure. Or you can be real sneaky and go up to do the test and then quickly slash the throat. Yeah, for sure. Very good.
Come on, skipping in.
Yeah, exactly. This is the distraction. For sure. Because it's one of those things where you don't get diminishing returns, right? Because if you keep killing, like you'd think it'd be like every Blade Master is better than the person they kill, you know? But like what if, they're a bit sick that day, you know? Oh, I don't want to go to Blade Master school, I've got a headache. And then you get in, and they're like, all right, quick Jim, you're doing the Blade Master test here. And then you're like, my sinuses. And you go up, and you get killed. That Blade Master might be terrible, because you've just been having a bad day, you know? So like maybe it's like a dilute, where like by the time the Age of Legends comes around, it's sport, right? So it's not serious at all. Don't they just say it's like Lewis Terran and Devin Drag or someone literally just
playing,
messing around with swords, like, you know? And then Devin Drag is like, why is he doing that in war, the fool, like, you know? So like maybe it's not as serious in the Age of Legends, and then because it's the Age of Legends, the modern age people are like, it's the perfect art form. There is no greater weapon than a Blade Master because they don't have spaceships and laser cannons and stuff. So they're like, this is the ultimate in like combat abilities of Blade Master, you know? And I think there's a lot to be said that a Blade Master is great in a duel and against your Tricholix, but like they're not going to be as good as a Phalanx when it comes to winning a battle, you know? So I think there is an element of that as well. It's very much, I'm tangenting again hard, sorry. But yeah, for sure. Any other questions? I'm running out of answers. I only have 3. Yes.
What would you consider as the equivalent if you were comparing it to like karate? So like in my head, it's like being a Blade Master is being like a 3rd down black belt.
Yeah, for sure.
So something like that. What would you?
I think it's subjective because have you ever heard the term McDojo? So there's a thing called a McDojo where you pay them 25 quid and you get a grading and they don't really fail at it, you know? So it's hard to say like, you know, like a traditional Okinawan Japanese dojo, I would never fight someone for that. Like I value my face too much. But if you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, Flashdance Dojo has like 82 black belts and one of them wants to fight you, let's go Flashdance, you know? So I think it's hard to quantify like a real world level that they'd be at. I would say maybe look to some of the long sword fencers in Europe, or look to maybe like the, I'd love to say Kendo, but like I think Kendo has gone very much the way of like it's an art and a sport, and it's gone a little too much on that side. But I think you're right in looking at like it's not just you know all the forms, it's that you've mastered them, and yeah, you are up at like 2nd or 3rd dan in a respectable dojo, you know. And I think it's not even that, but you've physically shown like so it's like yeah, I might have come through Flashdance Dojo, but also I've won all these competitions. I have the notches on my sword to show that yes, I've beaten 100 people from all walks of life in sword fighting. You know, I think you've got to be able to like one walk the talk, but also walk the walk and back it up. But I think that's probably the closest way to look at it. But you got to be aware that like not all black belts are equal. Like the utterly defeating fact that when you reach the full shawl, not all Aes Sedai are equal. You know, and it's a bit like that. Like yes, you might have the title of Blade Master, but if you got it through like a school that might not be that good, and they're just like, hey, we've got 15 Blade Masters, we're the best, and then you go out and they're like, Blade Masters or something, you know? Like that's not as reputable as the dude who's like, hey, I just walked out of the brain fart. What's the Blight? And he's like, hey, I've been in the Blight for a few years, you know? Like, I believe that dude's a Blade Master. You're not dojo guy, maybe not so much. So again, great question.
So it's world champion participants.
Yeah.
Take up there,
So,
sorry.
cool, right. Guys, thank you very much. That was really fun. Any opportunities to get dressed up when I'm in. So.